Hi everyone, this is Henry Anderson. I'm your instructor for this sort of hybrid online class, EDCF 356, Family Interactions and Communication. I'm posting this hopefully fairly short video to give you a little bit of an introduction to the class and specifically to cover a couple of things that you may have questions about. However, I've sent an email out to all of you, hopefully you've gotten it, to point to the fact that I'll be meeting with you toward the middle of September. I plan on having one face-to-face meeting around that time to cover any questions or concerns or clarifications that you need. And then also the last scheduled class date will be a time during the exam period that we'll actually meet face-to-face again as well. The class that we'll use when we do meet face-to-face will be in the HEC building, room 2024. I think it's on the nursing side. So I'm going to go over a little bit of the syllabus, just hit the highlights of some of the things that you'll need to know. And of course you can read through it. I just think that maybe spelling it out in a little bit more detail can help prevent the need for a lot of questions, but you can feel free to reach out to me. And what I have on the syllabus is two ways of contacting me: my Upstate email account and my cell phone. I don't mind if you call or text my cell phone. I know that it's not always easy to get in touch since we won't be meeting face to face every week, so feel free to use those routes to get in contact with me, even for small questions. Okay, so I put a little information in the syllabus about how we're going to be meeting. As I mentioned, your course materials is one textbook that's listed there. We'll kind of be plodding through the book somewhat slowly at times. There's one main chapter in there about face-to-face communication and written communication, like the skills that are involved in that. And this class is a skills-oriented class. My hope is that we can go through a lot of discussion about how communication takes place in terms of what opportunities there are, but I really want to specifically hone in on the skills of communicating. And as I'll describe here in a minute, what that might look like. So I've listed the kind of academic and administrative requirements related to attendance and things like that. Of course, since we're meeting twice, I really do expect everyone to show up in those two class meetings. If you have some major conflicts, just reach out to me. We'll talk about how we can resolve it, okay? Participation and professional behavior. We'll be interacting with each other. You all will be interacting with each other and with me, normally not face-to-face, but through a lot of discussion boards and kind of call and response sort of thing online. And I've also think that I would like to try to bring in a group. I can't remember what it's called on Blackboard. It's like a chat room, I guess, a video chat room. I may or may not end up doing that, but that would be a wonderful way for us to try some of the communicating skills that we'll go into. But it'll be TBA on that. So down on academic requirements, if you're following along with the syllabus, which I have posted on Blackboard, there are really 6 main points. The percentages of each are listed there. Your research paper is a big one, and you'll have pretty much all semester to work on it. There's one submission, a topic, rationale, and bibliography. I want you to submit a short description of what your topic is, and I'll give you a list of choices on the syllabus, and why you chose it. It can be kind of a personal thing that you were led to, or more of an academic curiosity. And then give me your bibliography, which I've listed as 5 reputable sources. Now, sources for a research paper should not be online blog forums, for instance. You can use those in addition to 5, but what I really like is 5 professional journals or quotes from published works that are in the field that we're discussing here, okay? If you have any questions, I'd be glad to talk with you about it. Number 2 on the list there is of academic requirements is community resource reflection. I'm going to ask that you each independently, and you can do this together as groups if you so choose, you can organize that, to visit the Safe Homes Rape Crisis Center in Spartanburg, and then to provide a 2-page reflection about that visit. And what I mean by visit is actually meet with someone there. They likely will kind of give you a tour of the place, or at least to sit down and a rundown about what the place is and who they serve and things like that. I've mentioned that the paper should include the mission and origin of the facility, services it provides, the demographics served, and other important pieces of information. So that'll be kind of up to your discretion, but I want a full explanation of what the place is and why we have it here in Spartanburg. The aim is for you to have community resource at your fingertips that you know something about in the event that a situation comes up in your professional life that you actually have to make a referral quickly for someone who is in need of security or safety in some ways. Okay? Clinical experience, excuse me, I skipped one. Number 3, the children's books annotated bibliography. An annotated bibliography, for those of you who forgot or are unfamiliar, a list of the sources, just like the end of a research paper, cited with APA citing format, and then a short description of what the text was about and what it was in general. So to me, that's like I don't know, 3, 4, or 5 sentences, really quick description of what it was, and maybe even a little bit about who it could be tailored to. Clinical experience and communications skills experiments are listed in number 4 in academic requirements. Don't miss those two. There are 2 different assignments, but they're going to be averaged together. The clinical experience will relate to your participation in the Fall Festival at Ida Thompson Center, the Child Development Program Center. And what I'll be asking you to do, and I'm still sort of arranging that with the director there, of how we will take part in that, but I'll be basically asking you to design an activity that you can lead with children and their parents or families at the fall festival, okay, or fall themed, like with fall weather or something. And also there are a couple of ways that you could have themes of your own related to our class. So themes of communication, obviously having the children and family and you maybe communicate with one another. Maybe a theme related to emotional languaging, nonverbals and things. And then also I've included the option to include music. I've done that because I have a musical background. I taught orchestra for several years and am a musician myself. But also music is one very strong way that people can communicate in nonverbal and sometimes what's called non-discursive ways, where there's not actually words. But different types of experiences. So, again, with our meeting in September, anytime other than that, you can ask me more clarifying details about that. But there's information on your syllabus. Family involvement, and I skipped it, the communication skills experiments. I'll be asking you to try out some of the skills of self-observation, self-regulation, and listening skill, active listening skills that we'll cover throughout the course that I'll go over. But I'll be asking you to do that in certain scenarios that you plan yourself, and in one of those scenarios actually video the exchange between you and someone else. It'll be someone who will know that you're doing it. It can be another classmate from here or from some other class. It can be a family member. It can be anyone really. But I'll have more description about that as that time comes about, and that's a little bit later on in the semester. Okay, just 2 more things. Family involvement and communication plan. That will take place on the final week of the semester. The exam week will actually gather together face-to-face and role play a mock, kind of like parent-teacher conference. This is a time that you can bring some creativity in. You're going to design your own family in a way and include members of the family that you choose. You can ask other classmates to participate. You will be the teacher or the child care worker who will be facilitating the meeting, and you will have invited 1 or more members of a family to have that meeting. I'll be glad to participate. If you just aren't in contact with other classmates or it falls through or something, show up the day of, give me the paper, and I'll be the parent. And even if it plans to be the mom or the whoever else, the grandma or whatever, I'll be that in the role play. Okay, so for that time, I won't be looking for wonderful acting skills. I'll be listening and looking for the types of communication skills and communication patterns that we'll talk about throughout the semester. Okay? There'll be lots of time to talk about that and clarify, however, between now and then. Class participation and professionalism. I've listed a couple of ways in which I might ask you to participate through Blackboard. Journal entries will be something that I'll ask you to complete, discussion boards. I've also listed practice logs, and that will become more clear as we get into the content. But basically, as I mentioned, this is a skills-based or skills-oriented course. We're focusing on skills of basically self-awareness, because that plays a large, typically unconscious role in how we communicate with others, but also skills of directly communicating, listening, and expressing what we think and feel to others. And so I'm going to ask you to practice specific skills that relate to those things. And I'll tell you how to do that. They're pretty practical and, in fact, pretty useful in life in general, in my opinion. There's a chart here with the topics covered and the chapters that they're related to. There are a few right in a row in the beginning that say excerpts TBA. I'm going to be pulling from different resources. I did this so you didn't have to buy another textbook or two, so you're welcome. And I'll be posting those on Blackboard as we need them, okay? There's an evaluation of student grading where you see the percentage breakdown. Beneath the grading scale that I've listed on the syllabus, there's a list of research topics for you to choose from. I'm going to create a like a Google Doc or some other shared document to have you all sign up for that, and I'll release that information through Blackboard. I believe that is about it for the class content portions of the syllabus. The rest of the syllabus is more university oriented, and you can read over all of it as you need to. But what I want to emphasize is that the way the course is going to be structured is we're going to go through 4 main modules. The first, we're going to talk about relationships. That's forming relationships, what characterizes a positive and thriving relationship, and especially how attachment theory plays into relationship building with young children. And we'll talk about that more in detail as we get there. Module 2 is skills of self-awareness, as I sort of mentioned. That's basically broken down into 2 parts in the ways that I'm presenting it. Self-observation, the ways that we track our own thoughts and feelings, because they often are go untracked, and they play a part in our conversation, sometimes for better or worse. And then also self-regulation. When we notice intense, distressing responses in our emotional life, for instance, and we're trying to communicate clearly and compassionately with others, what do we do with it? When we notice it, okay, I've observed some strong emotional reaction or lots of strings of distracting negative thoughts, for instance. What do I do with it? And we'll talk about the skills of regulating those things as we see them come up. Module 3, skills of communication used to build relationships. We're going to take the ideas about relationships we cover, the growing skills of self-awareness that we'll go through in practice, and then begin to develop different patterns of communication, styles of communication, techniques of listening, and so on, that you can put to use. And then the last module, module 4, is I've called it an intensive skills practice and demonstration. So what intensive in this case means is just really intentional or direct. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to use the skills of self-awareness and communication to practice them in tandem, and then to demonstrate the skills to me in different ways. That will include the communication skills experiments, and will basically culminate in the last day. We'll meet face-to-face with the communication plan. Okay, so I'll try to keep these little lecture videos fairly short, although I do need to cover a good bit of information sometimes because we're not meeting face-to-face. So hang in there with me, and I would love to be able to, I will look forward to having lots of exchange through discussion boards and things like that. So hopefully a lot of what I could say will be done through your own discussions with each other and with me. So I look forward to doing a lot of that. So reach out to me through email or call or text on with the information I gave you on the syllabus, and I'll be in touch with you all about meeting in September. For this first week, technically Thursday is the first day of classes. I'm not asking for assignments other than one short self-reflection that I'll be posting fairly soon. That shouldn't take you too long. And by that next week, hopefully you will have been able to get your book, and then we'll be off and running. Okay? All right, I look forward to working with you all. Reach out to me if you need me.